Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at my shiny Jirachi in the Open Ultra League. I kinda want to try this Pokemon out again to see how strong this actually going to be. As we're going to also have a double dark backline here with Obstagoon as well as our XR Scrafty. But honestly, this Pokemon Jirachi was one of my favorite Pokemon to use back in the day, like I don't know, like 1 or 2 seasons ago where I already tried this Pokemon out. It was really strong there. And the meta kinda shifted, but I don't really think it shifted really towards Jirachi because you have like way more Golisopod nowadays, you're going to have way more Alolan Sandslash, and all those Pokemon going to be a little bit tricky as you're going to encounter immediately a Golisopod here in the first game. And yeah, so Jirachi actually has a lot of cool matchups, especially the typing is very unique, being a Psychic plus Steel typing, sharing of course the same typing with like Bronzong as well as the Metagross, but neither of them are really that common, and this Pokemon actually has a really cool unique move of it, which is Doom Desire, the best Steel type move in the game right now by far. There are only really horrible Steel type moves, but Doom Desire is really decent, so definitely a cool Pokemon to use. Here we're going to still be able to survive another move, and I can still go for a charge move. The opponent going to be able to catch the Doom Desire onto their Swampert, but still we should be able to reach another one in time, and we're gonna get the knockout here or the shield from the opponent. Let's see, they're going to let this move go through. And so Jirachi was able to beat this Swampert here already in the first game, and we're gonna get out now the opponent's Walrein. Should have swapped into my Scrafty for sure. I expected that the opponent would swap into the other Pokemon that they already revealed with the Golisopod, but they decided not to do this, so now it's still going to be a little bit of a trickier one. As they're gonna go for the Icicle Spear, I can just go for the Power Up Punch and buff my attack in order to sweep endgame just with my fast moves alone, and the opponent does not even get to another charge move, which kinda seals the deal here. And this is going to be it for the first battle as they even let this move go through. So, moving on, let's take a look at the next battle coming up. We're going to encounter here Jirachi against virizion. This is going to be one of the favorable matchups that you're going to have. And we're going to get out the opponent's Heliolisk, allowing us to basically align our Scrafty against the opponent. Should have most likely actually went into my Obstagoon though. Reason for this is that you have Gang Shot on the Obstagoon, which does at least some damage against the later on incoming virizion again. But here I don't really have any coverage, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go for the Power Punch against them. And so I try to just do some decent damage with that one, and a little bit of counter damage just to get them a little bit lower, but of course they can just farm me all the way down. Sure, went for the Foul Play here as well, to be fair. Foul Play does a little bit more damage than the Power Punch in general, but it does not really matter too much as those moves don't really do any damage at all. But we're gonna see here, they're gonna go for the Sacred Sword. We can take 2 of them for sure, but the third one we most likely going to have to shield up. And I definitely want to shield this one up anyway, because yeah, we are only really having this answer for the virizion. So here we're gonna see them most likely swapping out now, and they're going to swap out into a Charizard. And this is going to be a difficult matchup for us, as Charizard is kinda a core breaker for this meta again. We're gonna be able to still reach another Doom Desire, which kinda makes me hopeful here, because I might just be able to knock them out with a Night Slash here from the Obstagoon. So let's see what we can do here. They're gonna go for the Blast Burn. They're most likely gonna go for the Dragon Claw now. But I still most likely going to have a chance here of winning this game, as they can still reach this Night Slash in time. Night Slash is coming through, is not going to get the knockout, and the opponent can swap out in time, farming me down, and sadly they are just at a move. And so the opponent's virizion is gonna get the knockout here, and we can move on into the next game. So let's see what the next opponent is going to run here. We're going to have a horrible lead of the Alolan Sandslash, but we are prepared for this with our backline. Basically, both of them are going to be fine, and we're gonna get out the Golisopod. The most common moveset for Golisopod right now is Aerial Ace plus Liquidation, and we're gonna get the attack buff immediately, and the opponent decides to forfeit. I think that the opponent knew already at this point of time that we most likely have another counter user in the back, and we could align our Pokemon, but yeah, that's kind of nice for us. What's also kind of nice for us is that we're going to get out the opponent's Charizard in this kind of matchup, because Charizard against Obstagoon is basically our best matchup that we have. Confusion is still doing a ton of damage against Charizard with our Jirachi there though, so like it's not even the worst matchup anyway there, but I can still just use a shield. They're gonna go for the Blast Burn, I can go for another Night Slash. They're going to be forced to use a shield here as well, but it's looking fairly decent for us, and I decided to maybe actually take this shield advantage instead, because I feel like one shielded Scrafty might be the way to go, but then as the opponent decided to go for the bait, I just decided for basically the opposite of it, because now I can align my Pokemon perfectly, which I'm a little bit more interested in. So they're gonna go back into their Steelix, but I can just swap out afterwards into my Scrafty. Scrafty can take those moves, Scrafty can get some damage onto the opponent. And Scrafty can in general just get some nice energy here, as they decide to go for a Breaking Swipe of course, which is gonna get the attack drop onto us, and they're going to decide to still stay in here, which is kinda interesting. So they're most likely going to be weak against Scrafty in the back, so having maybe a shield advantage would have been nice as well. But the opponent decides to go for another debuff here. Again, we can actually kinda cancel debuff. No, never mind, they're gonna go for the Earthquake, and so they're going to reveal the final Pokemon being the Giratina. I will only be able to reach one charge move here most likely, but I can still stay in, forcing the opponent to throw their energy immediately. And so this is going to come down to Jirachi. Can Jirachi still win this game for us? The opponent has some super effective damage against us as well with both Shadow Claws, as well as most likely Shadow Sneak here. But let's see if Jirachi can still do enough. Dragon Claws actually coming through, which is even better, and we can go for the Dazzling Gleam. Super effective fairy type move. Good by Giratina, and we can move on into the next game. Let's see what they're going to run here. Horrible lead again for us. We're going to swap out immediately into our Obstagoon, which is actually fine. I don't mind losing lead to this team. It's an ABB style team, but it's a hard ABB style team. So basically, you need to keep your lead alive. You need to get out the potential answer for a Scrafty in the back with your Obstagoon. It's really important for this team to do this. So here we're going to get out the opponent's D-Dex. So I'm fine actually losing the lead with this team. I'm not really complaining too much about it. But yeah, as long as you don't get hard counted in the back, it's kind of fine, of course. But here we're going to encounter now the D-Dex. They're most likely going to be able to realign their Pokemon here if they want to. But again, it does not really matter too much to me, because I know that my Scrafty is going to be fine against the opponent's Trevenant as well. I could decide to use a shield here as well if I wanted to, but I decided against it, so I can get some extra energy here now with my Scrafty most likely. Actually gonna go into my Jirachi. I'm not sure if this was correct. They're gonna go definitely back into the Trevenant anyway, so I can just swap out here if I want to. And I am going to swap out now. The opponent going to swap out into their own Obstagoon, and at this point of time, this game is over. Like, there is nothing the opponent can do anymore. Like, I can just go ahead, use a shield here, farm them down. There is nothing they can do. The opponent just going to have their Trevenant left, and like honestly, like Trevenant against the Scrafty that's boosted, Trevenant against the Jirachi, which is still lurking in the back. I can let the Seed Bomb go through, I can go for a foul play, try to get the final shit from the opponent. But even if they knock me out here, I still have my Jirachi in the back to win this game. As the opponent gonna go for a charge move here, I decide to let this move go through, just so I can go into my Jirachi and finish them up with 1 or 2 confusions here to win this game. Let's take a look at the next one. We're going to encounter a Gliscor on the lead. This is kind of neutral actually, as the opponent decides to swap out into the Registeel, which is really nice for me. And this was a game where I made a huge mistake, honestly, which really shifts a little bit on how this game works for me. The opponent gonna go for the Focus Blast, which is totally fine. So far so good, everything is totally normal. I can go for a little bit of an overfarm and go for the foul play. And I just forgot, well, like, didn't really pay too much attention here, that you need 1 less counter to get to another foul play now. Like, if you go for a foul play, the next one is only going to use basically 6 counters here, and I would have been able to reach this one, doing massive amount of damage against the opponent's Gliscor, most likely around like 40%, putting them most likely even into range where I can confusion them down, which would have been amazing for me, but as you're going to see here right now, it's not really looking too good. Now it's going to be the Cobalion in the back. And yeah, just if I had a little bit more damage onto the Gliscor, most likely would have been fine. As actually this matchup, because I was able to land the charge move there, the Dazzling Gleam, I'm kind of in an okay spot here. I'm kind of in a decent-ish spot. It's not like the best ever, but as you're going to see here, we're going to get them fairly low. I can let this move go through as well, and now I can just try to go for the full farm down, but the opponent decides to go for their own charge move there. But again, the opponent would be way lower now if I would have been able to hit this plus a 1 foul play. Would be in range for sure for just 1 Night Sash, and this would have been easily enough to knock out the opponent at this point. So that is a little bit annoying for me. And let's see if this is going to still matter. They're going to go for 1 Earthquake. They still have to reach another Earthquake, and I'm already at another Night Sash. So it's going to still be a very close matchup in general. As you see the shield coming up from the opponent, I can still try to reach another Night Sash there, but sadly the opponent can still reach another move, and it's going to be the Earthquake to knock me out. So this was kind of an unfortunate one, of course, as I would have been able to win this game if I played it better and would have just went for the foul play instead of the power-up punch. So my own mistake, didn't really think too much about it. Honestly, I didn't really pay too much attention as well. I don't know, I don't like Ultra League. I said it several times before, it's not my league, it's really not my favorite league. But still, we're going to have to deal with it. I'm not playing Electric Cup for sure, it's a little bit too I don't know, weird for me, but here we're gonna see now the defense drop immediately against us, which is actually pretty huge for the opponent, as now they're going to do so much more damage, and they can still put me into a range where an aerial ace would knock me out now, which this is going to be, and otherwise it would have not knocked me out, so 30% chance to get the shield there basically for against me. But it's going to be okay, as the opponent going to have a Giratina in the back. I decide to go ahead and go for my Dazzling Gleam, as the opponent is just not respecting my Dazzling Gleams, as I can just now move on and go, I think, maybe actually into the Obstagoon first. Just to try to... Oh, never mind, I'm just going to go straight into my Scrafty. At this point, the most awkward one is going to be the poliwrath. Luckily, the poliwrath does not run the legacy fast move of a counter, but is running just the mud shot, which is really important for me. So I can just go for my own power punch here, gonna get no damage onto them. But my main goal here is to try to knock out the opponent's poliwrath. Poliwrath is not doing too much damage against me, but I can, as you can see here, do some decent damage against them. I'm going to use the shield here. I know it's going to be most likely the Ice Punch and it's going to be the bait, but I can decide also to still swap out onto the actual move here with the Scald onto my Obstagoon. They're gonna get the attack drop, which is kind of unfortunate, but I can still reach another Night Slash against the opponent. And now I feel like just one power punch is all it takes to knock them out. We're gonna get some more counter damage in. They are forced to go for another charge move as well, because they do like 1 damage against me. And now power punch is coming through. Is this enough to knock them out? Let's take a look at this. It is not, and they can still go for their own charge move, so the game is not over yet. But let's see, 2 more counters is all it takes to knock them out, and we can move on into the second to last battle for today. Let's see here, we're going to encounter a Swampert. Swampert is going to be a very awkward one for our lead, of course, but we can swap out into our Obstagoon, and that's kind of a neutral one, as I decide to go into the Grand Ball. And honestly, I should have went for the Gang Shot here, right? I'm not sure about it, but luckily they actually use a shield, so I'm okay now, I'm okay. But what I decide to do now is I'm going to use another shield against the opponent. They're going to go for the close combat, and they're going to go for another close combat. There are, of course, the Snarl variant, so that's an interesting matchup for us. But I can now, I think, just go for a Night Slash and farm them down afterwards because of their 4 times debuff of their defense. So, like this, I'm going to be able to realign, but sadly, the opponent also going to run the Drapion in the back, and as they are going for a charge move now, before I reach a Gang Shot, I waste a ton of energy. At least that's what I thought, but I still barely survive, even with the defense drop there immediately again. The crunch from the opponent, and I can reach that Gang Shot to hit them for some very decent damage there, way more than a Night Slash would have done. I decided to swap out now into my Jirachi to get some more damage onto the opponent's Swampert, and they go for a huge mistake here. They're gonna go for the Hydro Cannon, which is allowing us to go for another charge move, and this is looking fairly decent for us because of that. Otherwise, this would have been not a way for us. We can still basically get some extra energy there. It's still not over though, because they can still get to another charge move most likely. Should have most likely went for the power punch as well. Thought they would be already at a move, and I didn't want to see him P-tie, so now I have at least some energy for the Drapion. And this foul play is all it takes to knock them out, so we're in a really decent spot here and we can win this game. Final game for today, we're going to have this time around a counter variant of Poliwrath against us in the lead. We can now use a shield against a potential Scald or whatever, which is actually going to be. Luckily this time around no debuff, which I am not even used to anymore. But I can go for the Doom Desire against the opponent's Drapion. I could even go for another one if I wanted to, but I decided to swap out into my Scrafty, which can take those moves a little bit easier, especially the Awkward Tail. Getting me some attack buffs as well afterwards with my Power Punch is looking very decent here. The opponent going to be able to swap out very soon as well again because of all those charge moves coming through. Every charge move takes 10 seconds off the clock, so we're already here like at the 4th charge move of this turn, and they're mostly going to be able to swap out now, which is okay for me. They're gonna go to the Poliwrath, and I'm fairly certain they still have to throw a charge move against me, even though, yes, we can still actually just farm them all the way down and realign, allowing us to get our Obstagoon against the opponent's Drapion. I think I'm still forced to go for a charge move here, but we know it's awkward here, so it's not really going to be threatening too much. So I'm still gonna go for the Night Slash here. Maybe I get the boost. We only got 1 boost so far, but yeah, it's also going to stay with that. I can still go for the full farm down. The Drapion is gone, and let's see what they're going to run in the back. It's going to be the Muck, and this is going to be a really bad one for us, because Mug is resisting all our moves, like all our charge, like here the charge moves, for the other one the fast move. So it's going to be a little bit of a trickier one. Night Sage is coming through, and I'm going to try to catch a move here, which did not work out, but I will be able to use a shield onto the Dark Pots, and I think I can outspeed them. It's going to be super close. Let's see if this is going to work out for us. We gotta see the Doom Desire getting the shield from the opponent, and I can see him P-tie to win this final game of today's video. It's not going to knock them out, or it's going to clear all the, all of the energy that they have, and I can just farm them down with counter here. So that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and later I'm going to see you for a tier list video again, and a special one, I have to say. Bye bye.